Welcome back to I Want That Too, the show where we do a deep dive on the world of Disney merchandise, sharing the stories behind some of your favorite collectibles. I'm entertainer writer Jim Hill.
And I'm Lauren Hersey, thrilled as always to be here. And we have a great show for you all today. We are talking about all things deluxe Disney, from things like living at Disney World to Disney's home decor lines, plus some of the most expensive collectibles you can find out there. Plus, Jim has some really cool stories to share about Sid Cahuenga's at Hollywood Studios, and he's going to tell you about the high-end items you can find there.
This is true. And that want to share a story that Lauren and I were pre-gaming the show earlier this week, and we were in the middle of a Riverside session, right? And as I was chatting, I looked out our picture window, and a bear was coming up the steps of our porch.
True facts. Yeah. This is like a true story. I really think that they heard the show. I mean, they know that Jim's spirit animal is Humphrey, and we're talking all about Smokey Bear. They just wanted to get in on the action, maybe get a feature, an interview or something.
As long as they stay on their side of the picture window, I am fine. But yeah, kind of an interesting moment when the wildlife comes to you. So we have an absolutely jam-packed episode this week, Lauren. So do you want to get to it?
Yeah, but before we do, why don't you take a minute and thank our sponsor?
Excellent suggestion. Okay, huge thanks now to touringplans.com for supporting this show. And if you're planning a trip to Disney or Universal, it can be overwhelming with so much to see and do down there in Orlando. But with touringplans.com, you get personalized planning tools and crowd insights that then help you skip those long lines and make the most of your visit. So save both time and money by checking out touringplans.com.
Highly recommend. All right, Jim. So what is happening in the wonderful world of Disney merch and collectibles?
Well, we're recording this week's show on Sunday, May 19th, which means that the first of three Brimfield Flea Markets for 2024 just wrapped up down in central Massachusetts.
Okay, I think I'm kind of familiar with the name, but tell our listeners, what is it? It's like a big flea market?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a mile-long flea market that 3 times a year in May, July, and September, 600 different vendors convene in this tiny little town. Most of the time, by the way, Brimfield only has 3,700 residents, which means that the small New Hampshire town that I live in, New Boston, which has 5,800 residents, we could beat up Brimfield. Anyway, the Brimfield Flea Market, which got its start in 1959 and earlier this week, Lauren, was officially added to the National Registry of Historical Places by the U.S. Department of the Interior.
No way. That's really cool. I had no idea.
Well, neither did I. But anyway, while Brimfield is primarily known as a great place to find antiques, Nancy and I regularly do this 3 times a year outdoor flea market because we've discovered it's a great place to find Disney collectibles.
Ooh, now you're talking. So what is your latest acquisition that came out of your trip to Brimfield?
Well, back in 1944, Walt Disney Studios, in collaboration with the folks who make those little golden books, they published Walt Disney's Surprise Package, which in essence is a big golden book, which is filled with 12 different Disney-related stories.
All right, so you found a copy of Walt Disney's Surprise Package. Why have you been looking for a copy of this particular book?
Well, now, please note that I said Walt Disney's Surprise Package was published back in 1944. And yet what's interesting about this book is it features stories that are illustrated with concept art from Disney films like Song of the South, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, and Lady and the Tramp. And these are movies the studio wouldn't release to theaters. Well, in the case of Lady and the Tramp, till more than 10 years later.
Okay, that's really interesting. So, why would Walt do that?
Well, okay, now you have to remember that World War II was still going on in 1944. And in fact, we just celebrated the 80th anniversary of VE Day, the Victory in Europe Day, earlier this month on May 8th, to be exact. Whereas VJ Day, that didn't happen till late in the summer of 45.
Okay, Jim. So, what's World War II have to do with Walt's Disney Surprise Package book?
Well, okay, Lauren, to be honest here, Walt Disney Studios was running on fumes at the time. Walt honestly didn't know if he was ever going to get the chance to make movie versions of Alice or Peter Pan or Uncle Remus, not to mention Lady and the Shrimp. And given that he'd already paid the artists at his studio to create all of this concept art for animated features that might not get made, well, this big golden book was, in a way, a way for the studio to turn these still on hold projects into something that could then make, well, a little money for Walt Disney Productions.
That makes total sense to me. So, what you're saying, though, is Walt Disney Surprise Package, the kids' picture book, is really sort of a snapshot of a pretty scary time at the company.
Exactly. And which is why it's so highly sought, such a highly prized book by Disney collectors. More importantly, this is why it's hard to find a decent copy of this 94-page hardcover. And more to the point, it's also why if you go over to eBay, you'll find first edition selling for as high as $375.
Ugh, that much for a kid's book? A children's book?
Oh, well, again, Lauren, this is why I was thrilled, to find a copy at Brimfield. Now, mind you, it was pretty battered. Some kid read this over and over and over again and then handed it down to their kid. But I found it on sale at Brimfield for just $15.
I have to ask though, like in the front of the book, does it say like Tommy Smith or, in the golden books, how you can write your name?
I have to go look. That's an excellent question. I'll let you know in the next show.
It's just seasoned. It's, had some love.
There we go. Seasoned. There we go. Okay.
Seasoned. Yes. But that is quite the find, Mr. Hill. Quite the find.
So now, just to stress here, the May edition of Brimfield literally just ended today, and there will be two more this year. There'll be the one in July, that's July 9th through the 14th, and then the September edition of the Brimfield Flea Market, that's going to be held the 3rd to the 8th of that month.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. I had no idea. It sounds really, really cool. We have some little flea markets around here, but nothing like that. And I really, really, really need to see the big golden book of surprises of yours sometime. Who knows? Maybe we'll go on Patreon and show that off at some point. But shifting away now from the world of flea markets and antiques, one of our listeners, Nick Driss, I hope I said that right, recently sent us a message about the Disney at Home collection, which just kind of sent Jim and I down a scroll hole of everything Disney home decor, but also the very concept of Disney themed homes.
No, Lauren is right, folks. If you're aiming for the pinnacle of high-end living within Disney property, it will cost you, but it's certainly possible. There are a few homes available right now at Golden Oaks at the Walt Disney World Resort. And for those of you who don't know, Golden Oak is an exclusive residential community located on Disney property, offering luxury homes that promise everyday fairy tale living.
That is true. And I wonder if there's like a theme going on here. We got golden books, we got golden oak, we're talking about antiques. Maybe there'll be some more gold in our future. Who knows? Or maybe we need some gold to be able to afford these houses. Who knows? But so, like Jim said, as of this recording, there are 3 homes for sale in Golden Oak. So let's take a look at some of these homes that are up for sale and what kind of unique Disney decor they have, because it has to be bougie. All right, so first up, we have the Sherwood Burrow, and it is listed for a cool $8.4 million. This home has 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, 3 half baths. It's huge. And it has like a very Tuscan vibe, brick exterior. And the home, what I enjoy is some of the subtle and not so subtle Disney touches. Okay, so this house, Jim, has a 2-story library that is Beauty and the Beast themed. And there's a Lumiere on the top of the staircase. But what is really interesting is there are all types of beast heads carved into the bookshelves. So you absolutely have to see these beast heads. And then they also have a really, really, really cool steampunk theater room. And like, if you haven't subscribed yet over on YouTube at Jim Hill Media, you probably should head there right now. You will not regret seeing this theater room. It is something really spectacular. All right. And then next up, we have the Mac Daddy of Golden Oak Homes. We have the Grand Villa, which is $14.5 million, 10,000 square feet, 7 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms. And now this one, we're going from Tuscany to more of a Mediterranean theme. And without even looking inside, like this gives off serious Little Mermaid vibes. And I think that may explain, there's like some odd like decor with, it's like beaches and fish tanks and animal kingdom all wrapped up in one. But it's very nice. But the theater in this home takes the cake. And I don't know why. I would love to know the owners of this home. So if you know them, they have a Star Wars themed theater room that literally looks like you are inside the Millennium Falcon. It even has what it looks to me like a full-size Chewbacca standing next to the bar. And like, if you're sitting in the leather, like movie theater seats just beyond the screen, like if you're looking forward, it actually looks like you're looking out into outer space. Yeah, it's very, very cool. And again, you have to see it to believe it at Jim Hill on YouTube. Jim, would you like to have a Star Wars movie room in your house? And if not, what would your movie room be?
I kind of just like our couch. I've reached the age now where that would be lovely, but how would I keep it up? But again, that's just me.
But I think the people that are living in Golden Oak are probably not seeking a simplified way of life. I mean, just saying.
Is probably true. But again, they are, because they paid the premium, they're living in Golden Oaks. They are living inside the Disney bubble, which comes with some pretty serious perks. Like, for example, complimentary rides to the Magic Kingdom theme parks and Disney Springs, plus extended park hours. There's also exclusive access to private summer house clubhouse. And of course, there's the concierge service offering personalized assistance with everything from theme park tickets to VIP tours to dining reservations, and members enjoy exclusive park entry, park passes, and the convenience of free home delivery for purchases made at the Disney park gift shops, which, by the way, didn't they just take that away from guests? So,
ooh. Well, I guess, I mean, you just got to come up with a couple million to get into Golden Oak. And I mean, I think it's really interesting that we're talking about this because I did not realize that you could catch a Disney bus back to your home at Golden Oak until like 2 Disney trips ago. I mean, I was kind of sold on that. And to be honest, I'm sold on the whole living in the bubble. That's why we, like to stay on property. But now I just need to find an extra 14 million lying around. And I mean, if I'm like looking in the couch cushions and stuff, who knows? Fingers crossed. But Yeah, let's see. Until then, something a bit more within my budget is Disney home decor. So back to our listener's message, Nick Driss, like I said before, he had noted, or he or she, sorry, noted that back in the early 2000s, it was like an occasional pillow or blanket, but now it's turned into like a full blown home transformation, like glasses, dishes, lamps, doormats, rugs, whatever it is, you name it. So we want to answer their question about, the evolution of the Disney home decor line. So we did some digging into the explosion of all of the Disney goods. Jim, what do we find out?
Well, what's interesting, Lauren, is Disney isn't just dipping a toe into home decor. They're diving in head first. According to an article from Fast Company, Disney is now a major player in the $682 billion home decor industry. They've expanded from those occasional throw pillows and blankets to a massive line of home furnishings that includes everything a Disney lover could ever dream of. Now, Disney has leveraged its vast catalog of characters and stories to create a home decor line that appeals to both kids and adults, with elegant glassware featuring subtle Disney motifs to more vibrant, themed furniture pieces for children's rooms. They're seriously trying to cover every corner of your house.
I mean, personally, I like the sound of that. It just means that you can keep adding those little Disney touches to every room if you're into that sort of thing. Personally, I do not live in a $14 billion house, but I have some subtle and not so subtle Disney home decor in my house. And like in my living room, like it's very classy, and on display we have, I actually brought it up. We have did you see these cool stepping stones? There was a promotion at Disney, and it was back in 2020. The ones that were going into the Magic Kingdom. Do you remember that?
I do. I bought one when they were really for real for sale out in front of the Magic Kingdom. In fact, I used to make a point every time it had Alice and her birth date on it. So every time I go to the park, I'd visit Alice before I went in, and kind of broke my heart when, Disney decided, we're not doing that anymore. So,
and I'm sure that shortly after is probably when they started selling these ones. Just, you don't need it here. Like, just take it home with you. Just take it home.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, no, that's one of my favorite little display items, but we do in our bathroom. We have like a light up, castle and the little Tinkerbell on the wall. And then, the not so subtleties would be like the Utilidor basement, which is just, wild. And I've talked about that before. But Jim, what kind of Disney decor do you have in your house?
Well, do piles of Disney books count as decor? By the way, I'm just now reading. This is Tom Selleck's memoir, You Never Know, which actually has a fascinating section on the making of Selleck's 1987 hit, Three Men and the Baby, which, by the way, that came out from Touchstone Pictures. And speaking of that Touchstone Pictures release, Lauren, did you know that was directed by Leonard Nimoy?
Yeah, the guy that played Mr. Spock on the original Star Trek TV series, right? Am I in the right direction?
The one and the same. In You Never Know, Selleck talks about what it was like to work with Nimoy on Three Men and a Baby, how when I arrived on set in Toronto, Leonard was welcoming, great fun, and so prepared, so ready. And that preparation really paid off, because Three Men and a Baby was the 5th highest grossing film for all of 1987.
I remember that, and it was so successful that wasn't there a sequel? Three Men and a Little Lady?
There we go. Yes, that came out in November of 1990, and by the way, did equally well at the box office. And interestingly enough, back in 2010, Disney revealed that they had yet another sequel in the works, which was to be called Three Men and a Bride. That was who brought back the entire original cast: Tom Selleck, Ted Danson, Steve Guttenberg, and Nancy Travis.
But the movies never got made, right? That movie never got made?
Yeah, but what's interesting is, as recently as December of 2020, Disney revealed that they had a Three Men and a Baby reboot in the works for the company's subscription streaming service.
Okay, yeah. I remember hearing about that. Wasn't Zac Efron supposed to play Tom Selleck in the reboot?
That's what I heard.
So is that Three Men and a Baby reboot still in the works for Disney Plus?
That's my understanding. Anyway, apologies here, folks. I got totally derailed talking about, in today's show, talking about Tom Selleck's memoirs when we were talking about Disney home decor, right?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I bet Tom Selleck has a really nice house, and who knows, he might have some Disney decor in there as well. But anyway, so if you are looking to do some redecorating or level up your home decor game, let's just take a quick peek at some of the items from the new home collection that Disney has right now.
Okay. First up, we have something really special for Disney enthusiasts and collectors alike: the Walt Disney Studios street sign from the Disney 100 collection. This is no ordinary collectible, folks. It's a miniature reproduction of the iconic street signpost that's located at the actual Disney studio in Burbank at the intersection of Mickey Avenue and Dopey Drive, which is next to the old animation building on the Disney lot in Burbank.
Well, that sounds like a serious piece of Hollywood history. I wonder if Jim Scholl has one of these. I don't know. Seems like it'd be something in his office.
Could be. Now, it's an Art Deco gem that honestly is more than decor. It's a landmark. It's a slice of Tinseltown's storied history. The street sign itself was first erected as a prop for the Walt Disney Studio tour film, The Reluctant Dragon, back in 41, which kind of makes it a true classic.
Okay, I can kind of guess, like, based on your description, but what's it look like? It shows up. What am I getting?
Well, okay, so for starters, you get miniature versions of the Mickey Avenue and Dopey Drive signs, and it's detailed right down to the departments that are marked on the sign. We got in between, we got animation, special effects, multiplane, layout department, and ink and paint. And it's styled in an Art Deco fashion, complete with a sculpted base and a metal finish. And honestly, it would look great on a desk or a shelf. And its suggested retail is $79.99.
Okay, I mean, that's very decent for a collectible item, part of the Disney 100 collection. It sounds really, really cool. I'm gonna have to ask Jim Scholl. And so for me, I was just recently gifted a set of crystal glasses from the newish, I'm going to say newish, Mickey Mouse Home collection, because just like their regular Shop Disney merch, they have different collections. So, these glasses, I also grabbed one so that you could get a visual. They're really pretty. They come in sets of 2. I got 6.
Those are handsome. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. You really can't tell, but they kind of sparkle under the light. And my mom also, it was Eric and I's anniversary. She gifted me these cute little coasters. They come in a set of 4. Yeah, so I thought that those are really nice, classy pieces to add to our kind of home decor. So the coasters are $24.99, and the crystal glasses are $29.99 for 2. So I would say worth it. We use the glasses every day and haven't had any issues. So I would say they're a good purchase if that's what you're looking for, and you can get them on the Mickey Mouse collection over at the Disney Store website.
And the crystal there, that's a textured treatment on the outside there, easier to grip, do you think? Or
Yeah, I do. And it's actually good with kids to have a little bit more grip, because I can't tell you how many glasses we have broken. Lots.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yes. As a clumsy adult, I immediately saw that. Oh, that would be good to have. Okay. Anyway, enough with the glass talk. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to break something. But stay tuned, because when we get back, Lauren and I are going to talk about the most expensive Disney collectibles, and I'll also tell you a story about Michael Eisner and Sid Cahuenga. But first, this. Welcome back, everyone. And as promised, we're going to dive into some of the most fascinating Disney collectibles out there. We've scoured through a treasure trove of information and found a fantastic article in The Gamer about the rarest and most valuable Disney collectibles. We picked the top 5 to share with you today.
All right. Yes, that is right, Jim. And we're going to go through these kind of quickly, but they're highly recommend checking out the article on The Gamer, because, I mean, some of this stuff will blow your mind. So these are not your everyday souvenirs that you pick up on your trips to Disney. These are like literally the crown jewel of Disney collectibles. And some of them are fetching astounding prices at auctions and on eBay. So let's kick this thing off with number 5 on our list.
Okay, starting off our countdown at number 5, we're highlighting the original poster artwork for Captain EO, which is available for around $15,000. This unique Disney sci-fi musical premiered at the parks in 1987 and starred none other than Michael Jackson, bringing a thrilling blend of music and futuristic adventure to the Disney parks. Known for its pioneering 4D effects, including moving seats, smoke, and lasers, Captain EO was a groundbreaking attraction, and the artwork for the original poster captures this iconic period in Disney entertainment history and is a much sought-after item for collectors of both Disney and Michael Jackson memorabilia, and that's a very tight Venn diagram right there. So.
Yeah, but I mean, you expand your audience or your potential buyers if you got Disney and Michael Jackson. But anyways, looking at number 4 on our list, we're up a bit from that $15,000 to $35,000, and that is a collector's edition of Walt Disney's Fantasia, featuring the foreword by the composer Leopold. Let's make sure I say this, Jim, right? Is it Stokowski? Help me out here.
Stokowski. Leopold Stokowski.
Oh, perfect. My mouth was not moving that way tonight. But anyways, this particular edition, it obviously commands a high price, not only because of its historical significance, but also because it combines kind of that magic of Disney with his iconic musical influence. So while this copy isn't signed by Walt himself, it is a rarity, and the inclusion of his signature, it really makes it pretty valuable. So those more interested in, there are more accessible versions of this. So there are cheaper editions available. Though they lack the forward and the prestige of this rare find, this vintage book from 1940 remains a really high-end item. And I'm assuming it is highly cherished by collectors and, Disney fans alike.
Got it. Okay. Tied for the second spot on our list at $250,000 is a true piece of Disney history. Mickey and Goofy's 1956 comic printing plates. Now, this isn't just about owning a rare comic. It's about owning the original plates that were used to print that comic back in the 1950s. Listed on eBay, this collector's item includes the original plating and artwork, making it a significant investment for the dedicated Disney collector. It's a unique window into the history of Disney comics, capturing a moment in time with 2 of Disney's most beloved characters.
Very cool. I mean, I saw a lot of comics, but the printing plates, that is something new. All right. So, looking now at the other tie for the second spot, and this is the most lavish Disney collectible, is the Bedazzled Cinderella's Castle that I personally have to go see every time we're at Walt Disney World. And it is $250,000 as well. So, this is crafted by the renowned crystal makers. This breathtaking replica isn't just a statuette, it is really a luxurious rendition of the iconic Cinderella's castle, loaded with Swarovski crystals top to bottom. And you can get this, from the Disney store, or it's at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And if $250K is outside of your budget and you're looking, maybe for something on a smaller scale, there is also a smaller version priced at $49,000.
Oh, still. Okay. And coming in at the number one spot for the most expensive Disney collectible ever is the astounding Celebration Mickey. Crafted in honor of Walt Disney's 100th birthday. This isn't just a statue. It's a 100-pound solid gold masterpiece valued at $4 million. It holds the record as the largest gold statue in both Disney and U.S. history. Truly a monumental tribute to a century of Disney magic.
I told you there was a gold theme today, and you didn't even know it. We ended with the Mac Daddy of gold.
There we go. I stand corrected. So.
All right. Those collectibles are seriously impressive. But speaking of rare Disney items, you mentioned earlier that you have a story to share about a rather special place at Hollywood Studios where collectors could find some interesting and unique treasures.
Yes, Lauren, that is right. And I'm talking about Sid Cahuenga's One of a Kind. Now, you and Eric visited this shop during your most recent trip to Walt Disney World. Am I right? I want to say Eric was telling me the story about how you guys encountered some wet weather just as you were arriving at the studios, and so you were kind of forced up onto the porch at Sid's as you were trying to get out of the rain. Is that right?
That is correct. And I mean, we walked by that place, hundreds of times and never even thought to go in.
And what did you see inside there?
Well, we had no idea what was inside. And there were people kind of standing around on the porch, and we were like, what if we can go inside? And there were seated, there are nice benches and air conditioning in there. So if you're there on a hot day and you're just looking, but there were so many cool, posters and collectible items. And it was just another place that you could actually purchase some high-end art, which I thought was really cool and didn't even know was there.
When Disney-MGM first opened in May of 1989, that's 35 years ago this month, by the way, Sid Cahuenga's and Oscar's Super Service, the gas station that's right across the street from Sid's, they were supposed to send a very specific message, tell you a unique story. That you're in the Hollywood that never was, but always will be. By the way, that's actually what it says on the dedication plaque for Disney's Hollywood Studios, that this is a real place where the main industry is fantasy, as in making movies. Now, when you look at Sid's itself, what do you see?
Well, it's not as big and sophisticated as, say, some other structures along Hollywood Boulevard. To me, it basically looks like a house, like a private house maybe that got turned into a shop.
Jim Hill would be so happy to hear you say that, because that's exactly what the Imagineers were shooting for. A Sid Cahuenga's one-of-a-kind store is supposed to tell guests that once upon a time, Hollywood was this sleepy little town that eventually became the movie-making capital of the world. Now, so say, if we were to go back to 1910 and wander along the really for real Hollywood Boulevard. Well, back then, that street was lined with modest private homes, just like the one that the one-of-a-kind shop is now operating out of.
So when did Hollywood become Hollywood, like the real Hollywood we know today.
Well, the first permanent movie studio in Hollywood was Nestor Studios. It set up shop at the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Gower back on October of 1911.
Nestor, I do not know that name.
But you will know the name of the company that Nestor merged with in the following year, in May of 2012. That was Carl Laemmle's Universal Film Manufacturing Company, which eventually got shortened to Universal Pictures.
Shut up. No way. Okay, so back to Sid Cahuenga now, who you told me earlier was once actually a character at Disney-MGM.
Yes, Sid Cahuenga was once a citizen of Hollywood. Or should I say that he was a member of the Streetmosphere characters that used to roam around Hollywood Boulevard at the studio, interacting with and entertaining visitors to this theme park.
Did you say Streetmosphere?
Yep. Okay, this was an idea dreamed up by Imagineer Craig McNair Wilson, with the concept being that all of these eccentric characters lived on Hollywood Boulevard, which, if you've ever walked down the really for real Hollywood Boulevard in California, is not a far-fetched idea. Anyway, Craig wrote all of these highly detailed backstories for the citizens of Hollywood, and he then hired a bunch of very talented actors who all had great improvisational skills to play these characters, which brings me to the story that I wanted to tell on today's show, which has to do with an interaction that the actor who was playing Sid Cahuenga once had with Disney CEO Michael Eisner just before Disney-MGM first opened in the spring of 1989.
All right, so now I'm intrigued. What happened?
All right, so picture this, Lauren. It's a week to 10 days before the studios first opens to the public. And Craig is out on Hollywood Boulevard rehearsing with his citizens of Hollywood. They're out there practicing the skits that they have and, the ones that they'll soon be performing for guests as they sort on the street. But it's now that Wilson noticed that off in the distance, Michael Eisner is now walking down Hollywood Boulevard. He's coming from the direction of the Chinese Theater. He's headed toward, the one-of-a-kind shop. And he's surrounded by this flock of flunkies.
So what's Eisner doing there?
Well, all right. You got to assume that, this is, Disney CEO just making sure that Disney-MGM would be ready for opening day. I mean, you got to remember that this is Eisner's very first theme park. More to the point, Michael had spent $400 million building the place. So he wanted to make sure that it shined.
So what did Craig Wilson do when he saw Michael Eisner heading towards the citizens of Hollywood? Like, hide? I don't know. What did he do?
No, he actually went the other way. He turned to the actor who was playing Sid Cahuenga, that day, and it essentially said, "Sick 'em."
Oh, no. So what happened?
Right. So the actor who's playing Sid lopes over to Eisner and his entourage and sticks out his hand. It's like, "Michael, Sid Cahuenga, so nice of you to drop by." And Eisner, who greenlit the creation of the citizens of Hollywood and understood exactly what Streetmosphere, was immediately in on the gag. And so he decides to play along. It's like, "Oh, hi, Sid." And he then turns to his flunkies and said, "This is Sid Cahuenga." And he runs the one-of-a-kind store at the end of Hollywood Boulevard. And now, the actor playing Cahuenga without skipping a beat. And he's like, "Now, Michael, I'm very disappointed in you. You promised me all those costumes and props from Good Morning in Vietnam. But here we are, just a week out from our official grand opening. And I have yet to see any of that material. How do you expect me to run the one-of-a-kind store if I don't have any inventory?" And so Eisner laughs and he's like, "Oh, Sid, I'm sorry. I'll take care of that right away." And Michael, who's clearly joking, turns to one of his flunkies and says, "Make sure the people of the studio send Sid everything that we've got left over from the making of Good Morning Vietnam." And then Eisner turns back to the actor playing Sid Cahuenga and says, "Great to see you, Sid." And Eisner and his entourage just continue their inspection tour of Hollywood Boulevard.
Well, that's a cute story and a little interaction between Streetmosphere player and the CEO. Can't imagine that.
Wait, it gets better. A week later, a semi pulls up backstage at Disney-MGM. A truck driver walks into Sid Cahuenga's one-of-a-kind shop and says, "Where do you want it?" And the person behind the counter is like, "Where do I want what?" And the driver then explains that he's driven all the way from Burbank, California, with a tractor trailer truck full of props and costumes from Good Morning Vietnam. And evidently, one of Eisner's flunkies hadn't realized that Michael's interaction with Sid that morning on Hollywood Boulevard was a bit, a joke. And so he had actually sent a memo back to Disney Studios that, immediate action that Eisner needed all of those props and costumes from Good Morning Vietnam sent immediately to Disney-MGM.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. An expensive gag, I guess. How much did that wind up costing the company? Do you know?
You do not want to know. All I can tell you is those costumes and props were on sale at Sid's for years. And that no one at Disney-MGM ever dared let anyone back at Disney corporate know that this had all been a mistake, that Eisner had just been joking with Sid Cahuenga.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, next time I'm at Hollywood Studios, I'm going to swing into Sid's and see if they've still got any Good Morning Vietnam stuff available for sale. And I'll snap a pic and let you know.
And speaking of shop, I think it's time we closed up shop on this week's edition of I Want That Too. But before we go, I wanted to give you all a heads up about Dayton Disneyana.
Okay, and that's something you do every year to benefit Pirate Packs, the organization which helps kids in the West Carrollton School District who are dealing with food scarcity issues, right?
Very worthwhile cause. Anyway, Dayton Disneyana is held at the Hope Hotel and Richard C. Holbrook Conference Center in Dayton, Ohio. This year it's June 7th, 8th, and 9th. And by the way, there will be dozens of folks there selling Disney collectibles, so you don't have to wait for the next, Brimfield. Oh, and by the way, yours truly will be giving a couple of talks. One is going to be about the history of Disney's The Lion King, which is celebrating the 30th anniversary of its original theatrical release next month. And the other one will be somewhat familiar to I Want That listeners and viewers. It's going to be a history of the Disney and the Muppets. Anyway, again, it's for a great cause, Lauren. So folks, please come out to Dayton Disneyana and say hello, all right?
And if you are looking for something to listen to while you're driving out to Dayton, Ohio, the Jim Media Podcast Network has a ton of great shows to listen to.
Yeah, okay. Let's see if I can get them right. Okay, we got Disney Dish, the mothership that I do with Len Testa. We have Fine Tuning. That's about animation news, which I do with Drew Taylor, who, by the way, has his own wonderful podcast, Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast, which he does with Charles Hood. There's also Looking at Lucasfilm that I do with Brian Gahn. There is also the Epic Universe podcast, which I do with your talented husband, Eric Hersey. What else? We also have Disney Unpacked, our first ever video series. In fact, the show you're watching now kind of comes on the heels of that. And this coming month, for June, Jim Schul, Len Testa, and I will be discussing the history of Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. And Jim helped develop the ride system for that, which, by the way, is now in 4 Disney theme parks around the globe, supporting 4 different rides. And as for our next, I Want That Too, Lauren, I know we got a wonderful bit of email from one listener wanting to hear about the history of Disney snow globes. But did you have anything else in mind?
Yeah, and why they're not sold anymore. So, or sold at the level that they were. So, we're going to cover that in the next episode. And then we're going to talk about what Disney princess actually sells the most merch. And it's a toss up, I'm telling you. It could go either way with some of the favorite princesses. But as always, we love hearing from you guys. So, if you have anything at all that you'd like to share with Mr. Hill or myself, please reach out. I'm at laurenhersey.com, or if you'd prefer to get a hold of Mr. Hill, he is at jim@jimhillmedia.com.
Okay, and folks, I think that's going to do it for this episode of I Want That Too. On behalf of the lovely Lauren Hersey, again, I'm Jim Hill, and thanks for listening to I Want That Too, and we'll see you next time.